Well, this is quite a turnout for the day before 4th of July holiday. So thanks to everybody for showing up. I'm sure it's because of the fantastic program that Dennis has got planned for us. Because there's a lot of material in that program, we're going to try to get through the first part a little bit quick, not to cut anything, give anything short shrift or anything like that. So how do we start out? Okay, first of all, Cuba people are excluded here. Besides the Cuba people, who's been diving recently? Okay. Say a word about it to the crowd. Flower gardens. Okay, real good. We won't go into detail, but there's 4 or 5 of us here who went to Cuba. And you'll probably be hearing more than you want to know about that later in the year when we throw all of our hours and hours of video and thousands of stills that we took. It was a fantastic trip, but I got to tell you, I haven't seen this many casualties since I held a workshop for geophysicists in Rio de Janeiro. And at that event, we had one guy get drunk and fall off of a balcony. We had 2 people robbed. And we had a guy who was trying to body surf that smashed into the beach, broke his nose, and had to go home. So that's the only one I know that's beat this trip. We got 2 of us got COVID from our tour company the first moment we set foot into Havana. And then they actually showed up again a couple of more times. So a few people may also have gotten it. That's too bad, but I think most people had a really good time. And so I'm sorry I left that out. A broken foot, and Scott nearly got killed underwater because he blew out a regulator hose. I'm sorry. We got bitten by the local marsupial rats or whatever they are. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, it was pretty. So I think, though, for Betsy and myself, we probably don't have the world's record. I think we owe that to Jesse Cancelmo for the world's most expensive dive, where he went to Antarctica. I understand the story is true, but Jesse can probably correct it, but went there and only got 1 dive in and had to come back. But I reckon my dives cost me about $2,500 a piece. I got two dives in. Of course, Betsy's doing a lot better. She got 3 dives in before we spent the rest of the time in our cabin. And so anyway, it was a lot of fun. We got to binge on the Rome HBO series, which I happen to have on a disc. So, we can talk all about that. But it was a really nice crew. And, so we'll have a lot more to say. Is it November you're going to have that program, Dennis?
Yes.
Okay. November. Okay. Well, let's move on from that. Any new faces? I don't see any totally new faces here. So let's.
Jake is here.
Okay.
Say hello, Jake.
He's muted.
Flying somewhere to Europe.
Oh. Hey, there he is. Wow, on the plane. Really. Welcome to the HUPS meeting here. And you're going to speak or just show up?
Well, he's already sent me an introduction.
Okay.
So he's probably going to be in the air by the time we're ready.
Good. Okay. Okay, well, let's get to any club business reports, officer reports. I know Frank always has a gem for us, so I'll call on him.
Thank you. The Diving Council, we have a scholarship program, deadline for application.
Can't hear you.
Oh, it's on.
Now it's on.
Okay, we'll try again. The Diving Council,
Thank you.
applications for our scholarship programs ended June 30th. We have the decision will be made this Thursday, but we received 3 applications this year, which was good. Caitlin Greavy, from granddaughter of one of the Lunar Fins, Charles Moran, grandson of Russell, and Tamara Sama from Chum, and that is a member of Chum. anyway, the decision is going to be made in a couple of days, and your newsletter will have the results of that. Thank you.
Are you ready? Yep. Thanks, Frank. Let's see. Anybody else? I don't see any other people that have anything to say at the moment. So we're going to change up the order of the program a little bit tonight. We've delayed the photo contest presentation because Martin just got back from the Cuba trip and didn't have internet until yesterday afternoon, probably 8 or 9 o'clock at night, something like that. So we'll do that at the next meeting. We do have the video winners, so we're going to show that. And I was not going to do the gadget of the month, but because it's become such a popular event and Martin brought a gadget, you guys haven't been here. You've been missing the gadget of the month thing. Yeah. So Martin, get your gadget and tell us what it's all about.
I just thought about this on the trip because I actually used this on the trip. Okay, so this is the
Hold it to the camera.
it's a little clip and it
Get
looks
closer. Get closer.
it looks pretty simple, and it's not a spring-loaded thing. It's for putting your drying your stuff on a rail. So anything that's a rail about that big, you can get these different sizes, and it's not a spring-loaded thing, but it has a locking mechanism. You put it around the rail in your garment and you lock it, and it really holds tight. Okay, it's like hurricane-proof tight, like for a boat where you're on a ship and things are blowing off everywhere. You put that on the rail, and that's what we actually did. This we hung it over the side, clipped it to the rail, and nothing blew off. So these little things are pretty inexpensive. They're pretty clever. And then to do it, it's so it either locks and it's on there, or you unlock it.
Oh.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Gadget. Yeah, gadget. I'll look it up. We'll put it in the newsletter. We got it on Amazon. Yeah. Well, she put the last stuff on in the newsletter, so we'll put this in the newsletter. But yeah, we really like these. And like I said, you can get them different sizes. But anyway, it's a cool little gadget.
Okay. Doesn't need batteries.
Doesn't need batteries. It doesn't have a spring to get sprung. You know,
So it seems like it might not be that much fun then. You know, there's nothing to maintain on it, you know, but I'm wondering, could you hang a wayward spouse by the thumbs over? You know? Yeah, no, I'm the one that's going to get hung by the thumbs. Okay, so without any more ado, I guess, Betsy, you want to introduce the video contest winner film?
Okay, we have,
Microphone. Here we go.
I got one. You can use this one.
okay, this is the spring 2023 video contest winners. We had 4 films, and Martin is going to play the show where we'll introduce each one of the films, starting with 3rd place and ending with 1st place. And so we're going to show each one of the winning films.
Yep.
It's just another day of diving in paradise. But it's not always this way. Right now, everybody seems to be thinking, why do we do this? For some, it's the exotic and strange creatures we find. Or maybe it's the cute ones that interact with us. Or the camouflage and beautiful colors. Maybe it's the endless clouds of fish. Or the thrill of big animals and things you may only see once in a lifetime. But for many of us, I think it's what first hooked us on diving. That feeling of utter weightlessness. It's the magic of escaping gravity and being alone with our thoughts. This guy probably knows that feeling too, having been born on land. And how different to be a sea snake than a land snake, and all because of gravity. And yeah, it's more than enough to make it all worthwhile.
Now the weather's starting to deteriorate.
It is. we have tonight is going to be a presentation on diving the northern Gulf of Mexico, but it also includes one show on here that is about the birding expeditions that the Fling has now supported. And I think we'll just get on with it. Jake Wood is with Backyard Bayou, and he has given us an introduction, a very short one, and then we'll go into his Backyard Bayou show that has Jesse in it as well. So he is on a flight right now, I guess.
Hello everyone, Jake Wood with Backyard Bayou here, and we're sorely disappointed that we can't make it with you down in Houston tonight. As you're watching this video, we are en route to the Mediterranean to grab some more footage that hopefully we'll be able to share with you in the near future. But we are appreciative and honored that you would ask that our presentation be featured for tonight's program, and we're really excited to share it with you. We started the program about 5 or 6 years ago as an educational program that's really focused on Northwest Louisiana and about the interconnectivity of the environment in our backyard. And as we developed the program, our backyard grew and grew and grew, and now it's grown out to the flower gardens. And we really think it's important, no matter how far inland that you are, to talk about how you are connected to the entire earth that is around you. And we're thrilled to have had the opportunity to bring that message through our programming on our trip to the flower gardens with the Fling. And it really brought some operational challenges that we had to tackle head on. Primarily land-based filming is what we've been doing for the past 5 to 6 years. And the equipment that we use and the camera crew that we use were not set up to go underwater. So to the drawing board that we went, and actually turns out that GoPros were our best option to bring this underwater footage to life. We needed a lot of high quality footage in a very short amount of time. And we also needed to be cognizant of the area that we were taking up. We did not want to be disruptive to the other guests that were on the Fling. And namely, we needed to get underwater as quickly and easily as possible. We put together the pre-program of filming this really within a matter of about a week. It was an incredibly last-minute trip that we had planned. The opportunity kind of fell into our laps, and we're really excited to be able to do so. Really, diving has been a passion of mine for the past decade. I'm an instructor, I'm a public safety diver, and avid recreational scuba diver. And being able to share and tell the story of what you can find underwater has always been a passion of mine. And to be able to intersect Backyard Bayou with that passion is truly rewarding. And I'm very excited for you to be able to see this tonight.
Backyard Bayou. Now, you might be thinking, Jake, this doesn't look like a backyard or a bayou at all. Well, I assure you, this might look like the Caribbean above, and soon you'll find out below water, but it's right in our backyard, 100 miles off the coast of Louisiana and Texas, in a place that's very special called the Flower Gardens Banks National Marine Sanctuary. But to get there, we've got to take a few extra steps than we normally do, and that's going to involve starting our journey about 60 miles south of Houston, Texas, in a small town called Freeport. This is where we'll join our friends from Texas Caribbean Charters aboard the motor vessel Fling. Now, we're no stranger to boats on Backyard Bayou. You might have even joined us on a few before. But this one is by far the largest boat that we have ever been on in the series, at 100 feet long and 22 feet wide. That means we had about 30 friends join us on this trip to see what the beauty of the Texas Caribbean has to offer. So I think it's about time that we set a course south and visit the Flower Gardens Banks National Marine Sanctuary.
Let's go!
You'll find us in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico right now, about 100 miles off the coast of where Louisiana and Texas meet. There's a series of, as of 2021, 160 square miles of protected marine sanctuary. Before 2021, in 1992, they designated 56 square miles of marine protected sanctuary, thanks to the National Marine Sanctuaries Act passed in 1972. So we're gonna rewind. In the 1930s, fishermen would come all the way out here to see what they could bring home. And they came back with more than just fish tales. They told tales of what, like, colorful gardens sitting just below their boats. And of course, like any fish tale, there's got to be the people who say, well, that doesn't sound quite right. We've got to fact check this. And so fast forward into the mid-30s through the 1950s, where oceanographic surveys were being completed. And then in 1956, Dr. Henry Stetson was the first to identify coral here, 100 miles off the coast of Louisiana and Texas, in the Flower Gardens Banks National Sanctuary. Well, at that time, they just called it the Flower Gardens Banks because there were banks of what looked like flower gardens. In 1960, the eager divers jumped into the water to explore it the very first time. And that's really when it clicked. Said, we have to protect this for years and generations to come. So the group that led the research and the exploration of the Flower Garden Banks eventually identified these miles and miles of different coral formations with a plethora of vibrant sea life that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see so close to here. As a matter of fact, the scientific community didn't think that this could exist. They said the water's too cold, the water's too deep, it might be too turbid. Well, these salt domes that pushed up the sediment under the ground here provided that shallow, and by shallow we mean around 100 feet, for those coral polyps to be able to begin to form these coral banks here thousands of years ago. And as the researchers were able to find the different banks of the coral gardens here, they also worked on the policy level to begin to petition the government to say, hey, we need to do something to protect this. So in 1972, the National Marine Sanctuaries Act was passed. But the flower gardens didn't get their protected status as a National Marine Sanctuary until 1992. And even then, Stetson Bank, that was discovered by Dr. Henry Stetson, which was one of the first coral formations to be found, that wasn't added until 1996. And then with the expansion of the National Marine Sanctuary in 2021, we see the Flower Gardens Banks as it is today.
So personally, I don't think there's any better way to appreciate this than to go and have a look for ourselves. And I'm beyond excited because this time you're coming with us. I hope you brought a towel because it's time for us to gear up, get out, and literally dive down to explore this incredible ecosystem together. As the sun fades beyond the horizon, a new world springs to life across the seafloor. And to meet them, we get to do one of my favorite things on this planet, and that's exploring the coral reef at night. So let's fire up our flashlights, jump in for a night dive, and explore what I like to call the night shift. Our next dive took us somewhere I never would have imagined as a dive site. Usually when you think about an oil rig, you think about oil production and everything that's going on above the water. This time, we were able to take a peek below the water at these incredible ecosystems that developed around the legs of this platform. We've got the distinct pleasure of visiting with Jesse Cancelmo here. Jesse, you've been diving the banks for how long?
Well, since 1977.
What was it like in, don't want to be offensive, but the early days?
Well, the early days, I mean, really, the condition of the reef, the corals, are unchanged over all those decades. I remember the east flower gardens, the west flower gardens, the beauty of the coral, and when I look at it today, it's about the same. Now, manta rays, there seemed to be a lot more manta rays back in, especially in the late 80s and early 90s, but we still have manta rays out there. So all in all, it's all good. It's nearly as pristine, I would say, as it was back then.
So you liken yourself to a adventure explorer diver. What was the exploratory phases of the flower garden banks for you? Because I mean, they achieved their designation for the National Marine Sanctuary in '92, and they were just fresh off of '72 creating the National Marine Sanctuary program. Right. So we were almost in uncharted territory here, right?
Well, to a certain extent, although the dive operation was put in place prior to the sanctuary designation back in the late 1980s, a guy by the name of Gary Wren really gets the credit for setting up the dive operation here. and did a tremendous job bringing in 2 dive boats. But as far as the exploratory part, during those years, I was very interested in moving around even outside the east and west Flower Garden banks, Stetson Bank, and diving other banks. And so myself and friends of mine who like to explore, we went to Saunier Bank, Geyer Bank, Wright Bank, and other banks that the regular dive boats weren't going to. You could only go to them if you fully chartered one of those boats. They would take.
So tell me some of the coolest stuff that you've seen out here. I mean, we've spent a little bit of time underwater this weekend, but you know, I'm sure that's only scratching the surface of what you've accumulated in memories and photos over 50 years of diving.
Oh, absolutely. Well, easily, by far, easily, the top #1 magical event that occurs at these Flower Garden Bank National Marine Sanctuary is the mass coral spawning. And the mass coral spawning event, the good news is it's very predictable. It happens every year in August, 8 to 10 days after the August full moon. Now, sometimes they can get a little bit of spawning in July and sometimes a little bit in September. But 9 out of 10 times or more, it's 8 to 10 days after the August full moon. And the reef just erupts in this event of mass coral spawning. That do other reefs have this? Of course, because it's one of the ways that it's the way that so many species of coral reproduce. But the event here seems to be more concentrated than most other places. And so people come from around the world to see the mass coral spawning at the Flower Gardens in August. So that's definitely the tops.
What an absolute incredible experience. We've got to give a special thanks to our friends on the Fling for the great dives and the amazing hospitality. But most importantly, continuing to connect divers from all around the world to this remarkable ecosystem. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jake Wood, and we'll see you next time when we explore what's in your backyard.
We get one of the lights, please? Okay. Yeah, go to the screen because Jesse's going to come in now. Jesse, are you awake? You're on, boy. Tell us a little bit about what we're about to see. Unmute. Jesse, unmute. Jesse.
Here I am. Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Hey.
we can hear you now.
Okay. We had a severe weather storm just pass through. Sorry, guys, but everything's okay now. So what you're about to see is a pretty interesting video from the standpoint that it was done quite a while ago, actually. Back in the this is back in the early 1990s. And what you're going to see is manta rays. And really, for everybody who's been to the Flower Garden banks, I'm sure you've seen manta rays. But back then, there seemed to have been a lot more mantas than, I mean, we see them today. There's no doubt we see them today. But there seemed to be a whole lot more then. And I really don't know why. And this is just anecdotal. The marine biologists haven't really made any measurements or said anything about this. This is just me. But this is some video that Dennis enhanced and made look a lot less bumpier and jittier, and added some things to it. But the other aspect of it is you'll see the progression of how back then marine animals were treated a little more, how should I say, cavalier, if cavalier is the right word, but there wasn't the sensitivity that we have today with marine animals, and especially manta rays. You'll see people riding manta rays, and that is definitely a no-no. But and it's explained in the video. But anyway, I think that's it, Dennis, for an introduction.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Jesse. I know it's kind of terrible up there in Cape May, right?
Yes. I didn't mention that. I'm in up in Cape May, New Jersey, the southern tip of the New Jersey Peninsula. I'm on my boat and with my son Jesse, and we just rode out a really terrible thunderstorm that came through and was blowing like crazy. I had to go up in the bridge and secure some things, but it's calmed down now, and we still have internet connection. It was unstable for a while, but now it seems to be okay.
Yeah, we just saw the thunder behind your head there. Okay, we're going to get on with the show here.
Okay,
Thank you very
good.
much.
Sure.
Not that. Not that. That's Backyard Bayou. You've already done that one. Oh no, this is good. That was your number 2. How did that happen? Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Get the man behind the screen.
Okay, here's a little background information before we watch the video. My first trip to Flower Garden Banks was in 1977 aboard Captain Blood's Silver King II out of Sabine Pass. Gary Wren bought the MV Fling in the late 1980s, and I was on the front end of diving on the Fling at the Flower Garden Banks before it became a sanctuary. The video you're about to see was taken on a July 1989 Fling trip and was shot on videotape. Manta rays are seen often at Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary, but back in the late 1980s, early 1990s, anecdotally, they seemed to be much more prolific than they are today. You'll probably be shocked when you see divers riding and petting the mantis. Today, it is a firm no-no, and for good reasons. But back then, it just seemed like a cool thing to do. I still have a 1992 Christmas card Gary Wren sent me with a photo of him with a Santa outfit on riding a manta ray. Also, one of my photos used in a Scuba Times magazine article I wrote back in 1993 shows a photo of a diver riding a manta ray. Now, by no means am I suggesting or supporting riding or even touching a manta ray. I am just chronicling how things were 40 years ago. In the video, if you look closely, you'll see that the manta rays appear to be totally nonplussed about divers riding them or petting them. What people need to understand why not to touch or stroke a manta ray is the manta rays have a sticky mucus coating on their bodies, and it's a protective coating. It protects them from infections, it protects them from bacteria, and when you stroke or touch a manta ray, you're disrupting that protective layer.
I can honestly say that putting that together was fun. I really enjoyed doing that. What was it? Jesse's. That's Jesse's video. He took it by VHS, and then I took it. He gave it to me digitized, and I cleaned it up. And then I went over to his house, and we did the interview, and I put it together afterwards. Yeah, I know. Right, you next, Jesse.
Hey. Hey, I enjoyed doing that.
Okay, we're on the getting close there. The next one is going to be another one that's very general about diving in the northern Gulf of Mexico. A lot of this, well, Jesse and I share the authorship on this. He sent me a lot of photos, and I referenced his book, The Glorious Gulf of Mexico, for a lot of the technical details. But it goes beyond just the flower gardens and the Stetson Bank. It talks about the rigs and the Kraken and a bunch of the other banks and some of the history as well. So if we'll get it going, we'll see what we got here. The Northern Gulf has a variety of banks along the continental shelf. Some, like the East and West Flower Gardens and Stetson Bank, are shallow enough for recreational diving. Others, like Bright, Geyer, Saunier, and Ewing banks, are deeper, requiring advanced deep diving certification or technical skills. Divers have access to a variety of man-made structures such as the purpose-sunk Kraken and oil rigs like High Island 389. We will explore many of these in this presentation. The flower gardens are the northernmost coral banks in the Western Hemisphere. They are characterized almost entirely by healthy hard coral with diving depths typically ranging from 65 to 95 feet. Many pelagic species, such as mantas, hammerhead sharks, barracuda, and even whale sharks, can be found here. But a wide variety of reef fish, crustacea, and macro critters can be seen by those who choose to look. The MV Fling is the most frequent dive boat, but research vessels and private boats can also be seen here depending on weather and seas. It is a little-known fact that a brine seep exists at 220 feet at the East Flower Gardens. This video gives a quick overview of a visit to it in a submersible.
and then there's the sediment. Yeah, even this stuff has sediment underneath.
What I find interesting here is that the big density difference between the saline surface and the seawater allows the sediment to just sort of float over the surface of the brine. In 2003, Jesse Cancelmo took a quick dive to see it and took one photograph with his Nikonas 5. Geyer Bank is deeper, starting at 105 feet. Like the flower gardens, it supports a hard coral community. It is perhaps best known for its enormous swarms of butterfly fish. There doesn't seem to be much information about Ewing Bank off the South Louisiana coast. It is a deep structure about 60 miles west of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. In 2010, only a month after the blowout, scientists spotted an aggregation of whale sharks over the bank. Jesse Cancelmo spent 3 days there in 2011 with a research group studying this report. They saw only one whale shark. More is known about Bright Bank, another coral-covered reef 12 miles east of the flower gardens. It is within recreational divers' limits. What makes this place interesting is the fact that in the 1980s, treasure hunters seeking Spanish gold worked there and left equipment and 2 large excavated holes. Stetson Bank, although close to the flower gardens, is very different. Structurally, it is made up of siltstone or mudstone, covered mostly by sponges. Because of this, fish and critters have very few places to hide. It's a favorite dive location due to the diversity and accessibility to marine life. The Kraken, built in 1984, is a 371-foot long vessel. It was originally a cargo ship out of Japan. In 2016, it was towed to its present location 67 miles southeast of Galveston and sunk as an artificial reef. It is populated with large schools of fish like the batfish seen here. It sits upright at recreational dive limits, but due to the proximity to the Texas coast, the water can often be murky and green. Our final stop will be on the oil and gas platforms that are seen almost everywhere in the Gulf. There are roughly 2,600 of them off the Texas and Louisiana coastlines. Some are close enough for easy accessibility by dive boats. Warm, plankton-rich currents have seeded the rigs with a wide variety of coral, sponges, and fish life. Large schools of fish of many species can be seen swimming around the structural beams and legs. Sharks and turtles are frequent visitors. But the rich growth of coral, hydroids, and sponges make ideal locations for tiny things like this tessellated blenny to call home. Diving in the northern Gulf of Mexico can be varied and rewarding for those who venture into these blue, fertile waters. Okay. The final show we have here tonight has nothing to do with diving, but it has a lot to do with the fling and what's going on with Andy and the new things. That's fine. Yeah, in Cuba, we came across the Spree, which is the sister boat of the fling. And Andy went over and talked to the captain, the people on the boat, and they exchanged stories. There's a lot of stuff that came out of this trip to Cuba. It was interesting. Okay, here we go. Here we are on the fling, getting ready for one of its inaugural trips down to do some birding in the Matagorda area. We'll be headed down towards the Intercoastal Canal, and hopefully we're going to get some pictures of some birds today. Morning, Todd. Good morning.
I like the rear of this boat.
Go today?
Yes, sir.
And we're going to see a lot of birds?
Hope so.
Had the drone in a really nice nice position. And I finally got the boat moving like that and the drone following it. And I got a great video of the boat. Then I said, all right, put it back in neutral again. I'm going to bring the drone back to the boat and land it. And I went to bring it back to the boat and the freaking controls disconnected. I no longer could control it. So the drone's out there and it's just hovering. And I'm like scrambling with the controller, trying to figure out how to reconnect it. And it's just hovering. And then I thought, we'll bring the boat back under so we can get under the drone and maybe I can somehow get it down. And then it was just, it has a limited 15 minutes of battery. So then I'm there watching and the drone just goes, and that was it.
That's one way.
Just down like that.
What's that number? I start now. Right, there you go.
Pardon me?
What's that number on sticker?
Oh, this? Oh, that's my drone license.
We're making the loop around. If we took this one, it would go out the jetty, but we're gonna turn back and go west down the intercoastal. This is the intercoastal waterway right here. Okay. And this is the old river and the port we're at right now. They're on the intercoastal. When as they're dredging that, it's from thousands and thousands of years, and they found skeletons. And he said they were there one day, and the skull pops up where they'd been dredging it. It popped up in the slurry of the boat.
So that's where we're going, huh?
Yeah, we'll head that direction. But back in the 30s, late 30s and early 40s, that kind of stuff didn't matter. Now when that kind of stuff pops up, they get, all the historic and the archaeological, and they have to study all that kind of stuff.
Like dive trips, they do burning too. Overnight or just day? Just during the day. On the edge coast.
That's a wrap. Just a little more appreciation for the out there off our shores, I hope. Fun program to put together. Glad to have the cooperation of Jesse. Yes. Oh, hand the camera to me. You want to see me again? Hi there. Hi there. And the mic. Okay. I got the mic too. Like I say, I wanted to tell everybody that I really enjoyed putting this one together with the help of Jesse and Andy and all the people. And David, yeah. So get out there and enjoy it. I've got a free trip. I say free trip, I paid for it, but it got canceled earlier. So it's on the books. Me and Brian are going to go out sometime, and maybe some of the people will go with us. That's it for me. Greg?
Just, I mean, I think they're. So I think we owe them all a round of applause. What a fantastic show, huh? And especially digging out the old video. And what camera was that shot with? Do you know?
Jesse, are you there? He's gone.
Oh,
No, he's there.
yes.
No,
It
he's
was, it's too long ago to remember. No. It was
but it was vintage.
it was a cassette.
80s,
It was a
70s?
cassette type. It was a tape cassette camera that I used to photograph my children growing up, and then I got a housing for it and took it out in the Gulf and also videoed the manta rays.
I'm guessing a high 8 or something like that. The quality looked very good actually. For yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was.
You gotta have it to
was
start
a
with.
little magic involved.
Yeah, I think it was called a high 8. You're right.
That's what I was
You're right.
saying. A high 8. Yeah.
Yes,
I
a
think
high
so.
8. That's exactly what it was. You're right,
Yeah.
Craig.
I had one and just had to rip some digital stuff myself from 1995, and those tapes kind of go south after a while.
You're
I think
right.
that the resolution was probably 720p,
That's correct.
and it was a it was like a 3:2 format, maybe something
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
And so it was not like what we have on our televisions. I used Topaz Video AI to up-res it up to 1080p and cropped it a bit, stabilized it a lot, and it helps a lot.
Yeah, it's not the stability. What can happen is the color saturation takes kind of deteriorate.
Yeah.
Quite good digital quality. I think send it off and somebody did.
Yeah.
Because I had to buy a board and do it myself. So to do it automatically.
This is like about the third or fourth semi-documentary that Jesse and I have cooperated on, and he's always such a great person to have in front of the lens, because you hear his stories and you get his animation as well. So it's like, well, he's not Tom Hanks, but
Another comment. I really
Hey.
enjoy seeing a salt seat, and those things can get huge actually. And Scott probably knows this very well, because because we use those things in the seismic. Turns out when they make a big lake like this, lake's 20 miles wide, and
Can't hear you.
Battery go out? Here, try this one.
yeah, I think all my talking, I ran the battery out. Anyway, the density between the brine and the seawater makes a perfect sonic reflector. And so we would use these things to get what we call the far field signature, because you have an impulsive source of air and you don't really know what it looks like when it gets, about a mile away in the ocean. So you can use those things to record a perfect reflection and know what your instrument actually was putting out. So it's kind of an interesting, I've never seen one though. So this is so cool. Thanks, Jesse. I really appreciate it. Let's see, any other comments, questions? We've got a few minutes, no problem.
Good show.
Yeah, really super show. Well, I'm sorry that the people online, maybe you could go buy some Mexican food wherever you are, because that's the next thing we're going to do. And you'd think we wouldn't be craving Mexican food after 10 days in Cuba, but we are. Yeah, it's just too much. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll have our regular meeting next month, and we'll see both photo contests results at that point as well. So hope to see everybody here. I'll probably be dialing in from Colorado, so I'll attend the meeting, but not in person. We may have to get somebody else to stand up here and look pretty. And so thanks a lot, everybody.